Captain Daeho Kim stared at the massive shape floating in the darkness of space. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he couldn't look away from the giant ship on his screen. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built, but something was very wrong with it. "Sir, we're getting no response to our signals," said Communications Officer Juan Lee. Her voice was worried. "The ship is barely giving off any power readings." Daeho rubbed his tired eyes. He had been leading deep space missions for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. The ship looked ancient, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the starlight. Parts of it were clearly broken, with holes in the metal hull that should have meant everyone inside was dead. "How big is that thing?" he asked. "About 5 kilometers long, sir," replied his science officer, Dr. Sunmi Park. She was the smartest person on his crew, and if anyone could figure this out, it would be her. "But Captain, I'm reading life signs. Thousands of them." Daeho sat up straight. "Thousands? In a ship with holes in it?" "That's what I thought too, sir. But the readings are clear. There are living beings inside that ship, and they're in trouble." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the rules about first contact with alien species. Earth's government had made it very clear, no contact without permission from the Galactic Council. But the Galactic Council was 6 months away by fastest ship, and whatever was in that vessel might not have 6 months. "Sir," G1 spoke again, "I'm getting something. It's not radio or any signal we know. It's like ... like whispers in my head." Dr. Sunmi Park looked up from her instruments with wide eyes. "Captain, I think they're trying to communicate telepathically. The neural scanners are going crazy." Daeho made a decision that would change everything. "G1, open a channel. All frequencies." "Sir, the protocols say—" "I know what the protocols say," Daeho cut her off. "But protocols don't save lives. Open the channel." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they could see inside the alien ship. The sight made everyone on the bridge gasp. Hundreds of small, thin beings were floating in what looked like a vast chamber filled with some kind of thick, glowing liquid. They had pale, almost transparent skin, and their eyes were huge and dark. They looked fragile, like they might break if someone touched them too hard. One of them, older than the others, moved closer to what must have been their viewing screen. When it spoke, somehow everyone on the bridge could understand the words, even though they were hearing them inside their heads. "Please," the voice was soft and full of sadness. "We are dying. Our ship fails. Our children fade. We have nowhere else to go." Dr. Sunmi Park was already scanning them with every instrument they had. "Captain, these beings are incredibly weak physically. Their bone density is less than half of what a human child would have. But their brain activity, it's off the charts." "Who are you?" Daeho asked, speaking directly to the screen. "We are the Velothi," the old being replied. "Once we lived on many worlds, now we are the last. The galaxy calls us failures. The strong ones hunt us. We have been running for so long that our young ones have never seen a sun. How many of you are there? 50,000 souls remain from millions. Our ship is 3,000 years old. It was built to carry us to safety, but there is no safety for the Velothi. Every world turns us away. Every species sees us as weak and useless." G1 was checking her databases. "Sir, I found them in our Galactic Council files. They're listed as evolutionary dead-end and non-viable species. The file says they have no natural defenses, no useful technologies, and no value to galactic civilization." Daeho looked at the screen where dozens of young Velothi were floating weakly in their life support liquid. Some of them looked like they were barely alive. "What can you do?" he asked them. "What makes your people special?" The old Velothi seemed surprised by the question. We can share thoughts. We can see small pieces of what might happen in the future. We can feel the pain of others and help heal it. But the galaxy does not value such things. The galaxy values strength, weapons, and wealth. Dr. Sunmi Park was reading her scans with amazement. "Captain, their telepathic abilities are incredible. They can link their minds together across vast distances. And sir, I think they can see probability patterns. That's not fortune-telling. That's advanced mathematics happening in their brains." "But what good does that do?" G1 asked. "They can't fight. They can't build weapons. They can't even survive without that life support liquid." Daeho stood up from his captain's chair. His crew looked at him with worry, because they all knew what he was thinking. Captain, Dr. Sunmi Park said quietly, if we help them, the Galactic Council will be furious. Earth is still new to galactic politics. We can't afford to make enemies, and if we don't help them, they die. Deho replied, all of them, the last 50,000 of an entire species. He walked to the front of the bridge and looked directly at the Velothi elder on the screen. What do you need to survive? A world with clean air, fresh water, and peace. We do not need much space. We do not eat much food. We only want to live and raise our children safely. And you can really see the future. Small pieces, yes, patterns of what might be. We can feel when danger comes from far away. We can sense when others are in pain, even across great distances. Deho thought about Earth with its wide oceans and green forests. He thought about humanity's long history of taking in refugees, of protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Dr. Park, how long would it take to get them to Earth? Sir G1 stood up from her station. You can't be serious. The government will never approve this. The government put me in charge of this mission, and my mission is to explore space and make contact with new species. That's exactly what I'm doing. Dr. Sunmi Park was already running calculations. Their ship won't make it to Earth, but we could transfer them to our cargo holds if we modify the life support systems. It would take 2 months to get back. And then what? Giwan asked. Even if Earth accepts them, the Galactic Council will demand we give them back. The big powers, like the Draknari Empire and the Hegemony Coalition, won't like this. Deho looked at the Velothi children floating weakly in their chamber. Some of them were looking back at him with those huge, dark eyes. They looked scared but hopeful. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, he said. Right now, 50,000 beings are about to die, and we can save them. That's all that matters. He turned to his communications officer. Giwan, send a message to Earth. Tell them we're coming home with refugees. Dr. Park, start working on modifying our life support systems. Everyone else, prepare for the largest rescue operation in human history. The Velothi elder on the screen seemed to shimmer with emotion. You would do this for us, even though we are weak. Even though your own people might be angry. That's what humans do, Deho said simply. We help those who need help. As his crew began preparations for the rescue, Captain Deho Kim had no idea that his decision would change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. He only knew that it was the right thing to do. The last 50,000 Velothi were coming home to Earth. 5 years had passed since the Velothi arrived on Earth. Hyan Wu Nam walked through the gardens of Nusal, watching human children play with young Velothi under the morning sun. Of the Velothi integration program, the Velothi children were easy to recognize. They were smaller than human kids, with their pale skin that seemed to glow softly in sunlight. Their huge dark eyes missed nothing, and they moved with a strange grace that made them look like they were dancing, even when they were just walking. Mr. Nam, friends with a Velothi child called Brightstar, watch this. Sojin closed her eyes and concentrated hard. Suddenly, Brightstar's eyes began to glow faintly, and the Velothi child started laughing. She's showing me pictures in her mind, Bright said in the musical voice that all Velothi had, pictures of her birthday party next week. Hyan Wunam smiled, but he also felt worried. The children were doing something that the adult scientists were still trying to understand. The young ones, but it was much harder for adults. His phone buzzed. It was Dr. Sunmi Park calling from the research center. Hyun Woo, you need to get down here right away, she said, and her voice was excited. We just had a breakthrough with the military tests. Nam said goodbye to the children and took the high-speed train to the military base outside the city. When he arrived, he found Dr. Park waiting with Lieutenant Byora Choi, a young soldier who had volunteered for the telepathic bonding experiments. Show him, Dr. Park said to Bodash Ra. Bora nodded and closed her eyes. Sitting next to her was Whisperwind, an elderly Velothi who had become one of the most important teachers for the bonding program. Suddenly, Biora's eyes snapped open, but they weren't looking at anything in the room. Instead, she was staring at something far away. There are 3 enemy ships hiding behind the moon, she said in a flat and motionless voice. They will attack the space station in 47 minutes. Watching her instruments with amazement, Bora described the ships. The first ship is red with black markings. It has a crack in the left engine housing. Or retreat. The third ship? Biora paused, and her eyes began to glow like whisper winds. The third ship contains someone who is not what he seems. He is not really part of this attack force. Hyanwu Nam stared at them. Are you seeing this happening? Right now? No, Whisperwind spoke with his gentle mental voice that everyone in the room could hear. She sees what will happen if nothing changes. The Velothi gift is to see the paths that time might take. Dr. Park was typing rapidly on her computer. I'm checking with Space Command. If there really are ships hiding behind the moon, her computer beeped with an incoming message. Dr. Park read it and went pale. 3 unidentified ships were just detected behind the moon. Space Command is scrambling fighters to intercept them. But Bora was already standing up, still connected to Whisperwind's mind. Tell the fighters to approach from below and to the left. The enemy ships will run instead of fight if they see that the humans know their exact position, Dr. Park relayed. The message, 20 minutes later, Space Command reported that the 3 ships had fled without firing a single shot, exactly as Biora had predicted. This is incredible, Nam said. With this kind of ability, human forces could predict every enemy move before it happens. It's more than that, said another voice from the doorway. Jinna Song, the biotechnology researcher, walked in carrying a strange device that seemed to be part machine and part living tissue. I've been working with Velothi neural tissue, Jinna explained. Not taking it from them, she added quickly. Seeing the worried looks, they can grow extra neural material and share it willingly. When we connect this tissue to our computers, she activated the device. Any human could read. The Velothi neural tissue is processing data at incredible speeds, Jinna continued. It's like having a computer that can think and feel and make guesses about what information might be important. Whisperwind's mental voice was proud. People have always been able to share our thoughts with machines. We did not know that other species could not do this. Dr. Park was studying the readouts with growing excitement. Interface. I've already started, Jinna replied with a grin. The first prototype is being built in the Luna shipyards. A ship that can think, that can predict what enemies will do, that can react faster than any pilot could command it. Run down his spine. Does the government know about this? They know some of it, Dr. Park said, but they don't understand how big this could be. We're not just helping refugees anymore. We're creating something completely new. Been quiet during this conversation, suddenly spoke up. The Galactic Council knows something is happening here. I can sense their spies watching us. They're getting scared. Scared of what? Nam asked. Whisperwind answered. For thousands of years, the strong species have ruled the galaxy by being the strongest, the fastest, the most aggressive. They pushed my people aside because we were small and gentle, but now we are joined with humans, who are strong and gentle both. Over the following weeks, Nam watched as more and more humans volunteered for the bonding program. Not everyone could do it. The process required a special kind of mind that could accept telepathic contact. But those who could bond with the Velothi became something amazing. Human Velothi bonded pairs could communicate instantly across vast distances. They could sense danger before it happened. They could solve problems that would take normal humans hours to figure out. The most amazing discovery came when they tested bonded pairs in combat simulations. A human soldier bonded with a Velothi could fight with perfect coordination with other bonded pairs, like they were all part of one giant organism. It's like watching a pack of wolves, observed Colonel Minho Park, who was running the military tests, but wolves that can think like humans and see the future like gods. Nam was in his office late one night when Dr. Sunmi Park called him with urgent news. There, calling an emergency session to discuss the human Velothi problem. What kind of problem? Nam asked, though he was afraid he already knew. They're saying that humans are weaponizing a failed species, and that we're disrupting the natural order of galactic civilization. To separate us from the Velothi, Nam looked out his window at the city below, where thousands of humans and Velothi lived together in peace. Human families had adopted Velothi children who had lost their parents during the long years of fleeing. Velothi elders were teaching human scientists about technologies that could heal diseases and solve energy problems. Let them come, he said quietly. They think humans are primitive because we're new to space. They have no idea what we've become together. Dr. Park's voice was worried. Hyan Wu, Some of these species have been conquering worlds for thousands of years. They have weapons we can't imagine. Maybe, Nam replied. They moved like dancers, perfectly coordinated, each pair knowing exactly what the others would do before they did it. But they've never fought anyone like us before. Admiral Seokin Park stood on the bridge of the battleship Terra's Shield, watching the enemy fleet approach through the darkness of space. 300 Drachnary warships, each one twice the size of any human vessel, were moving toward the Kepler 442 system like a wall of death. Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies, reported Communications Officer Hai-Jin Kim there, demanding we surrender the Velothi immediately. Sio Chin looked at the tactical display. His fleet had only 60 ships, and most of them were converted civilian vessels with basic weapons. Any military expert would say this battle was already over, but Admiral Seojin Park was not worried. Standing beside him was Moonwhisper, a young Velothi whose pale skin glowed faintly in the dim bridge lighting. Connected to Moonwhisper through the telepathic bond was Lieutenant Commander Jae-sung, OSE, Okjin's tactical officer. "What do you see?" Seokjin asked them. Jae-sung's eyes were closed, but he spoke in a steady voice. "The Drachnary commander is confident. Too confident. He thinks this will be an easy victory. His ships are moving in a tight formation because he wants to make an impressive display of power." Moonwhisper's musical voice joined in, speaking directly into everyone's minds. "I see the paths of battle. In most futures, many ships are destroyed. But there is one path where the enemy runs away. We must make them afraid." "How do we make 300 warships afraid?" asked Captain So-young Lee, who commanded the destroyer Unity. "We show them something they have never seen before," Seogin replied. "All ships activate bioneural systems." Across the human fleet, the hybrid Velatha-human technology came online. Each ship's computer was now enhanced by living neural tissue, allowing the vessels to think and react like living creatures. More importantly, every ship was connected to every other ship through the Velothi telepathic network. Young Su Kong, a former mining engineer who had become the fleet's tactical genius, was coordinating the battle plan from the command ship. He was bonded with 3 different Velothi, creating a mental network that could process battle information faster than any computer. "Enemy ships are in range," reported Weapons Officer Minjun Seo. "Wait," said Jae-sung, his eyes still closed. "Let them get closer. The Drachnary commander wants to make a speech before he destroys us. He's very proud and wants everyone in the galaxy to see him win." Sure enough, the Drachnary fleet stopped just outside weapons range. A massive holographic image appeared in space, the face of General Korath, the Drachnary military leader. Korath looked like a giant lizard crossed with a shark. His teeth were like knives, and his eyes burned with red fire. When he spoke, his voice was like thunder. "Pathetic humans," Korath roared. "You dare to protect the worthless Velothi. You will pay for your stupidity with your lives. Surrender now, and we will kill you quickly." Admiral Seokin Park activated his own communication system. "General Korath, this is Admiral Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. We refuse your demand. The Velothi are under our protection." Korath laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your protection? You have 60 tiny ships against 300 Drachnary battleships. You are either very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both," Seochin replied calmly. "But there's something you should know about humans. General, we don't like bullies." The Drachnary general's eyes narrowed. "Enough talk. All ships, attack formation. Show these primitives the power of the Drachnary Empire." The 300 enemy ships began to move forward in perfect lines, their weapons charging with deadly energy. It was a sight that had terrified entire civilizations. But as they advanced, something strange began to happen. The human ships didn't retreat or scatter like normal fleets would. Instead, they began to move in patterns that seemed impossible. Ships dodged incoming fire before the weapons were even fired. Formations shifted and flowed like schools of fish, but with perfect precision. "How are they doing that?" roared General Korath from his flagship. His tactical officer, a smaller Drachnary named Skrix, was staring at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, they seem to know exactly where we're going to shoot before we shoot." Meanwhile, on the bridge of Terra's Shield, The human Velothi bonded pairs were working like parts of a single mind. Moonwhisper was seeing all the possible futures of the battle, while Jae-sung translated those visions into tactical commands that were instantly shared with every ship in the fleet. Destroyer Group 3, enemy battleship will fire plasma cannons. In 5 seconds, move down and left, Jae-sung called out. Cruiser Squadron, enemy fighters launching from Carrier Group 2, they will attack from above in 30 seconds, added Young-soo Kang. The battle that should have been a massacre became something the galaxy had never seen. Between enemy fire like they were performing a ballet, when they did take hits, the bioneural systems instantly rerouted power and sealed hull breaches faster than any normal repair system could work. But the real shock came when the human ships began to attack. Commander Mi-jin Lim was leading the first assault group in her heavy cruiser Harmony. She was bonded with an elderly Velothi named Starzier, who had the strongest precognitive abilities of any Velothi alive. Target the enemy flagship's left engine, Mi-jin ordered. Fire in 3, 2, 1. Her ship's weapons fired at what looked like empty space. But at the exact moment the energy beams reached their target, the Draknari flagship turned directly into the path of the weapons. The massive enemy ship's left engine exploded in a ball of fire. Impossible. General? Koroth screamed. How did they know exactly when I would turn? Across the battlefield, the same thing was happening over and over. Human weapons fired at empty space, but enemy ships moved directly into the path of the incoming fire. It was like the Draknari were deliberately trying to get hit. The truth was even more amazing. The Velothi could see not just what the enemies would do, but exactly when they would do it. Combined with human tactical thinking, this created a fighting force that could predict every enemy move perfectly, Sir reported. Skrix to General Koroth, we've lost 47 ships, and the humans have only lost 3. That's impossible. They're primitives. The Velothi are weaklings. General Skrix said quietly, I don't think the Velothi are weak anymore. On Terra's shield, Admiral Seo-jin Park was watching the battle with amazement. His small fleet was not just winning, they were dominating one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Young-soo Kang looked up from his tactical station, his eyes still glowing with the Velothi connection. Admiral, I'm seeing something interesting. The enemy commander is starting to panic. In about 10 minutes, he's going to order a full retreat. Are you sure? Seo-jin asked. Moonwhisper's voice whispered in everyone's minds. The proud general's confidence is breaking. He has never lost a battle before. Soon, fear will make him choose to run rather than risk losing his entire fleet. Seo-jin nodded. All ships prepare for pursuit formation. When they run, we follow them for a while. We want to make sure the entire galaxy knows what happened here. Exactly 10 minutes later, General Koroth's panicked voice echoed across space. All ships, retreat immediately. The 300 Draknari warships turned and fled as fast as their engines could carry them, leaving behind the wreckage of nearly 80 destroyed vessels. The human fleet, which should have been wiped out in minutes, had won the most shocking victory in galactic history. As the enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Seo-jin Park opened a channel to all human vessels. Congratulations, everyone. Today, the galaxy learned something new about humanity. We don't abandon our friends, and we don't back down from bullies. And apparently, we're much better at this than anyone expected. On Earth, and on thousands of Velothi settlements, the news of the victory spread like wildfire. The weakest species in the galaxy and their human protectors had just defeated the mighty Draknari Empire. But Admiral Seo-jin Park knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy's great powers would not let this victory go unanswered. The real war was about to begin. The war had been going on for 2 years, and the galaxy was in shock. What was supposed to be a quick punishment of upstart humans had become the largest conflict in 1,000 years. The Hegemony Coalition had joined the Draknari Empire, bringing their massive trade fleets converted into warships. Together, they had more than 2,000 vessels hunting human forces across 50 star systems. General Woo-sung Bae stood in the command center on Luna Base, watching holographic displays of battles happening across the galaxy. Each display showed the same impossible sight, small groups of human ships defeating much larger enemy forces. Sir, Ghost Fleet has just taken the Rigel system, reported Intelligence Officer Kyum Mi-han. Admiral Hoen Chun's forces destroyed an entire hegemony supply convoy without losing a single ship. How many ships did Hyun have? Woo-sung asked. 12, sir. Woo-sung shook his head in amazement. 2 years ago, such a victory would have been impossible. But the human-Velothi partnership had created something the galaxy had never seen before. The secret was what they called pack tactics. Unlike old-style warfare, where each ship fought independently, human Velothi crews operated as parts of a single organism. Through the telepathic network, a fleet of 50 ships could think and act like one giant creature with 50 brains. Standing next to Woo-sung was Star Weaver, a young Velothi who had become something unprecedented. A warrior philosopher. Pale skin had darker markings that appeared when using advanced telepathic abilities. And the Velathi's eyes glowed almost constantly now. General Starweaver's musical voice spoke directly into Woo-sung's mind. I sense great disturbance in the enemy fleets. They are beginning to fear us in ways they have never feared anyone before. Good, Woo-sung replied. Fear makes enemies, make mistakes. But, sir, added Colonel Yoon-soo Kim, our success is creating new problems. The Galactic Council is calling for other species to join the war against us. They're saying, we're too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Woo-sung pulled up a star map showing the current state of the war. Human-controlled systems were marked in blue, enemy systems in red, and neutral systems in gray. The blue was spreading faster than anyone had thought possible. Show me the latest report from Admiral Hyun Chen, he ordered. The holographic display changed to show a recorded message from the famous Ghost Fleet commander. Admiral Hyun Chen appeared to be speaking from the bridge of her flagship, but the background was strange and blurry, like looking through water. General Baehoon's voice was calm but excited. I'm pleased to report that our new camouflage technology is working beyond all expectations. The Velothi ability to bend light around objects, combined with our bioneural ships, has made our entire fleet essentially invisible. She gestured to her bridge crew, and Woo-sung could see that half of them were Velothi, whose skin was glowing with complex patterns. Even knows we were there. The Hegemony Coalition has started calling us ghost ships, because their sensors can't detect us until we're already attacking. But Woo-sung was interrupted by an urgent communication from Dr. Kyung-ho Shin at the research facility on Earth. General, you need to see this immediately. Dr. Shin's voice was filled with amazement and worry. We've discovered something incredible about the Velothi. What kind of discovery? They were being poisoned. Woo-sung felt his blood turn cold. Poisoned? By whom? We found traces of a synthetic compound in their old ship's life support systems. It's been suppressing their natural abilities for thousands of years. Sir, as the poison leaves their systems, they're becoming stronger than we ever imagined. On the display, Dr. Shin showed medical scans of Velothi who had been on Earth for the full 5 years since their rescue. Look at this, Dr. Shin continued. Bone density increased by 400%, neural activity up by 300%, and their telepathic range, ... double quotes, he paused dramatically. Sir, some of them can now communicate across entire star systems. Who would poison an entire species? Woo-sung asked. Starweaver's mental voice was dark with ancient anger. We have always suspected there are old ones in the galaxy, beings who rule from shadows. Center, sir, shouted Tactical Officer Dongwon Park. Massive enemy fleet approaching Earth. 200 ships, led by Draknari General Korath himself. How did they get past our outer defenses? Woo-sung demanded. They didn't attack the defenses, sir, they went around them. This is a direct assault on Earth. Woo-sung's mind raced. Most of the human fleet was scattered across the galaxy, fighting smaller battles. Earth's defenses were strong, but not strong enough to stop 200 warships. Sir, Starweaver spoke urgently, I must tell you something. The recovered Velothi are not just getting stronger. The children born on Earth, the ones who have never been poisoned, they are becoming something new. What do you mean, watch? Starweaver said. The Velothi called out with a mental voice that somehow reached across vast distances. Within moments, the command center's communication systems lit up with incoming signals from across the solar system. The first voice belonged to So-young Kim, a 12-year-old girl who was half human, half Velothi. She had been born 3 years after the Velothi arrived on Earth, and she was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. General Bae So-young's voice came through the speakers. "I can feel the enemy ships. They're scared and angry, but there's something else with them, something that doesn't belong." "What do you mean, child?" Wusong asked gently. "There's a ship in the middle of their fleet that isn't really the beings inside it, ... They're the ones who poisoned my people. They're here to make sure the Draknari win." Suddenly, more young voices joined the conversation. Human Velothi hybrid children from across the solar system were somehow linking their minds together into a network more powerful than anything the adults had achieved. "We can stop them," said another young voice, this one from a boy named Junho Park on Luna Colony. "But we need all the bonded adults to help us." "Children, this is too dangerous," Wusong protested. General Starweaver's mental voice was filled with pride and amazement. "These children are what my people were meant to become before the poisoning. They are not just Velothi and not just human. They are something entirely new." On the tactical display, the enemy fleet was getting closer to Earth, but something strange was happening to the human. The system was suddenly connected in a vast telepathic network centered on the hybrid children. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, and civilians, all linked together in a way that had never been possible before. Commander In-ho Chai, leading the defense of Earth orbit, felt his consciousness expand beyond anything he had ever experienced. Through his Velothi partner, Dreamcatcher, he could suddenly see and feel everything that every other bonded human in the solar system was experiencing. "This is incredible," he whispered. "It's like having a million eyes and a million minds all working together." The defending human ships began to move with a coordination that seemed supernatural. They flowed around the attacking enemy vessels, like water, striking precisely where the enemies were weakest, always knowing exactly what the enemy would do next. But the real surprise came when the hidden ship in the center of the enemy fleet revealed itself. It was massive. When it opened fire, its weapons were unlike anything in the galaxy. Beams of energy that could turn matter into nothingness, the secret rulers of the galaxy. They have been controlling evolution itself for millions of years. The battle for Earth had become something much bigger. It was a fight for the future of all life in the galaxy. General Wusong Bei watched as his small defense fleet, guided by the incredible new human Velothi hybrid consciousness, began to fight back against enemies who had ruled from the shadows for eons. All units, he broadcast to every bonded pair in the solar system. "Today, we don't just defend Earth. Today, we free the galaxy from its hidden masters." The real war was finally beginning. Fleet Admiral Dong Hyeano stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Unity of Stars, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace through the main view screen. Behind him stretched the largest combined human Velothi force ever assembled, 5,000 ships carrying 2 million bonded warriors toward the galactic core. The battle for Earth had ended 3 months ago. With a victory that shocked the galaxy, the Eternal Dominion's secret fleet had been destroyed, and their ancient ship had been captured with all its terrible secrets. Now humanity knew the truth about galactic history. Admiral, called out Navigation Officer Heejin Lee, were approaching the edge of Dominion space, dropping out of hyperspace in 10 minutes. Dong Hyean nodded and looked at his bridge crew. Half of them were human, half were Velothi, but the distinction was becoming meaningless. After years of bonding and working together, they moved and thought like parts of a single organism. Standing beside his command chair was So-young Kim, now 15 years old and no longer entirely human or Velothi. Her skin had the pale glow of the Velothi, but her eyes held the determination of humanity. She was one of the first generation of true human Velothi hybrids, and her abilities were beyond anything either species had achieved alone. Dong Hyean said quietly, "What do you see ahead of us?" The girl closed her eyes, and when she opened them, they were glowing with silver light. "The Dominion is afraid, Admiral. For 50 million years, they have controlled the galaxy by keeping other species weak and divided. They never expected anything like us. How many ships are waiting for us? Thousands. But numbers don't matter anymore." So-young's voice carried harmonics that made everyone who heard it feel calm and confident. "They still think like the old galaxy, where bigger and stronger always wins. They don't understand what we've become." The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the galactic core, and everyone gasped at what they saw. Ahead of them was a sight that no living being had ever witnessed, the secret heart of the Eternal Dominion. Massive space stations surrounded an artificial star, each station larger than most planets. Ships moved between them in numbers that seemed impossible to count. Tactical analysis, Dong Hyun ordered. Commander In Ho Chai's tactical officer was bonded with an ancient Valathi named Voidwalker. Together, they could process information faster than any computer ever built. 15,000 enemy vessels. Most are larger than our biggest ships, but Admiral In-Ho paused, his eyes glowing as he shared consciousness with Voidwalker. They're not moving like a unified force. Each group is acting independently. They can't bond like we can, So Young explained. The Dominion made themselves the masters by staying separate from other species. They never learned to truly connect. With others, that separation has become their weakness. Suddenly, a massive holographic face appeared in space before the human fleet. It was like looking at a nightmare made real, ancient beyond measure, with eyes that held the cold intelligence of eons. Primitives, the voice boomed across space, carrying tones that made lesser species submit in terror. You dare to approach the sacred heart of galactic order. We are the Eternal Dominion. We have ruled since before your star was born. Admiral Dong Hyun activated his communication system, and when he spoke, his voice was carried by every bonded human and Valathi in his fleet, making it sound like the voice of 2 million beings speaking as one. We are the human Valathi Commonwealth, he replied calmly. We come to end your rule and free the galaxy from your hidden tyranny. The ancient being laughed, a sound like stars dying. Free the galaxy, foolish child. We are the galaxy. Every species, every world, every thought that has ever existed has been shaped by our design. You cannot fight the architects of reality itself. Watch us, Dong Hyun said simply. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The Dominion ships attacked with weapons that could destroy planets, beams of energy that erased matter from existence, and technologies that bent the laws of physics, but the human Valathi fleet moved like a living thing, flowing around the attacks with impossible grace. So-young, Kim, and the other hybrid children had linked their consciousness with every bonded warrior in the fleet. Through this connection, thousands of ships moved with perfect coordination, each one knowing exactly what all the others would do. But the real surprise came when the fleet began to use abilities that neither humans nor Valathi had possessed. Alone, ships began to phase in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy vessels before anyone could react. Weapons fired beams of energy that curved around obstacles and sought out targets with living intelligence. Most amazing of all, some of the hybrid warriors began to manipulate matter itself through pure thought. Impossible, screamed the Dominion. Commander, matter manipulation requires technology we have spent millions of years developing. So-young Kim's voice echoed across the battlefield, carried by the combined telepathic power of 2 million bonded minds. You developed technology to do what living minds can do naturally. You chose machines over life, control over connection. That choice has made you weak. The battle raged for hours, but slowly the impossible became clear. The human Valathi fleet was winning not through superior numbers or better weapons, but through something the galaxy had never seen. Perfect unity between different species, creating abilities that transcended what either could achieve alone. As the last Dominion stronghold fell, Admiral Dong Hyun broadcast a message that reached every world in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, he said, his words carried by Valathi, telepaths to every inhabited system. Today ends 50 million years of hidden slavery. The Eternal Dominion kept you divided and weak so they could rule in secret. But evolution never stops. Life finds a way to grow beyond any cage. He paused, looking at So-young Kim and the other hybrid children who represented the future of galactic civilization. We offer you a choice. Continue as you were, separate and limited, or join us in becoming something greater. The age of the Dominion is over. The age of true galactic unity begins now. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds and aboard millions of ships, people looked up at the stars and realized that everything had changed. The weakest species in the galaxy, and their human, Partners had become the strongest force that had ever existed. But more than that, they had shown that strength came not from conquest, but from connection. The galaxy would never be the same. 20 years had passed since the fall of the Eternal Dominion, and the galaxy was unrecognizable from what it had been before. Out at representatives from over 3,000 species, the council chamber itself showed how much had changed. Instead of the cold hierarchical seating of the old Galactic Council, the telltale signs of telepathic bonding, the faint glow in their eyes that came from mental connection with others. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Yunji began. Her words transmitted instantly to every world through the vast telepathic network that now connected civilized space. The Eternal Dominion had spent 50 million years keeping us apart, making us weak, controlling our evolution. She gestured to the mixed audience before her. Over separation, in the front row, sat representatives of species that had once been considered the galaxy's weakest. The Zephyrians, whose crystal bodies had been thought too fragile for modern civilization. The Whisper Folk, whose voices had been too quiet to be heard, had become the galaxy's greatest teachers and healers. But the most remarkable sight was the children. Scattered throughout the audience were young beings who belonged to no single species. Human Velothi hybrids sat next to Zephyrian Drachneri combinations. Children played with creatures that were combinations of 3 or 4 different species. J-Min Park, grandson of the late Dr. Sun Mi Park, was now director of galactic integration. He watched from the side of the chamber as his own daughter, little Hannah, chatted telepathically with a young being whose parents had been from 4 different worlds. These children were the future of the galaxy beings who combined the best traits of multiple species and could do things that none of their parent species could achieve alone, not through conquest or control, but through partnership and growth. Every species that joins us becomes stronger while keeping what makes them unique. As if to demonstrate her point, a group of representatives from the former Drachneri Empire stood up. Once the galaxy's most feared warriors, they had discovered that their aggressive nature, when bonded with peaceful Velothi telepaths, created incredible protectors who could fight with perfect discipline and mercy. General Korath himself, the Drachneri commander who had once tried to destroy humanity, now served as head of Commonwealth Defense Forces. His scales had developed silver patterns that showed his telepathic bonding, and his once red eyes now glowed with the gentle light of Velothi connection. The old galaxy feared difference, Korath rumbled, his voice now carrying harmonics of peace alongside its natural power. We thought strength came from destroying those who were unlike us. The Commonwealth taught us that true strength comes from embracing what others can teach us. In the audience, Elder Dreamkeeper represented the evolved Velothi, no longer the fragile, translucent beings they had once been. The Velothi had grown strong and tall while keeping their gentleness and wisdom. Dreamkeeper's skin showed complex patterns of light that indicated deep telepathic connection with thousands of other minds across the galaxy. My people were dying when the humans found us. Dreamkeeper's musical voice reached every mind in the chamber. We thought we were failures because we were not strong like the warrior species. But humans showed us that our gentleness was not weakness. It was the key to something greater than strength alone. But our greatest achievement is not military victory or technological advancement. Our greatest achievement is showing the galaxy that evolution never has to stop. She gestured to a holographic display that showed the current state of galactic civilization. Thousands of worlds glowed with the soft light that indicated telepathic networks. Trade routes connected not just planets, but the minds and hearts of billions of beings. The Commonwealth doesn't rule through fear or force, Yunji explained. We lead by example. Any species that wants to remain separate is free to do so. But most choose to join us because they see what they can become. The statistics were remarkable. Crime had dropped by 90% in Commonwealth space because telepathic bonding made it impossible to hide harmful intentions. Disease was nearly extinct because healing energies could be shared instantly across vast distances. Wars had become almost unknown because different species could understand each other's true needs and fears. As the session ended, Jamin Park walked through the halls of the council building with his daughter Hannah. At 8 years old, she was already showing abilities that amazed the scientists who studied the new hybrid generations. "Papa," Hannah said, her voice carrying subtle telepathic harmonics, "I can feel sadness from the far edge of the galaxy." What kind of hurt? They're afraid and alone. Their star is dying, and they think no one will help them because they're too different from other species. What do you think we should do? Hannah's eyes glowed with the silver light that all the hybrid children shared. We should find them and show them they're not alone. That's what we do, isn't it? We help people who need help. Jamin smiled, remembering his grandfather's stories about Captain Daeho Kim and the first rescue of the Valathi. The cycle continued, but now it was led by children who could reach across the galaxy with their minds and hearts. Yes, little star, he said, using the pet name that meant bright future in both human and Valathi languages. That's exactly what we do. Later that evening, in his private office, Jamin sent out the call for a new rescue mission. Within hours, volunteer ships from dozens of species were preparing to cross the galaxy to help beings they had never met. The Commonwealth's finest ship, Hope's Promise, would lead the mission. Its crew was entirely composed of hybrid beings who could survive in any environment and communicate with any form of life they might encounter. As the ship departed for the far edge of the galaxy, carrying hope to another desperate species, Elder Dreamkeeper stood in the observation deck of the Council Station, looking out at the stars. 50 million years of darkness, the ancient Valathi whispered to the cosmos. But it took only 50 years of light to change everything. Minds. Children of 100 different species played together in gardens that spanned multiple worlds. Scientists from former enemy civilizations worked side by side to unlock the secrets of the universe. The galaxy's weakest species and their human partners had become something unprecedented. Apex predators who hunted only those who would harm, the innocent, and shepherds who protected all others with love that transcended species. The galaxy had evolved, and evolution would never stop as long as beings chose connection over conquest, unity over separation, and love over fear. In the endless dance of stars and worlds, the Commonwealth continued to grow, one rescued species at a time, one new friendship at a time, one child born to mixed heritage at a time. The future belonged to those who understood that true strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together. And in that future, no species would ever again face extinction alone.